Hi, my name is Sean Daniels. I'm the Artistic Director of Arizona Theater Company, here to talk to you about the 2021 season, which is our 54th. One of the things that we're most excited about for this year is that we are continuing our mission to be the state theater, to be able to support local artists, to be able to create work here that goes on nationally and globally, that really feels like the rest of the country begins to look and knows that Arizona is where work starts, where quality work happens, and that if you want to know where the rest of the country is going to be, if you want to know what's going to be playing on Off-Broadway next year, you've got to keep your eye on Arizona. Our first show of the season is My 80-Year-Old Boyfriend, which won the Kleben Award 2 years ago, which is an amazing award. It's where they give $100,000 to what they believe is actually the best book of any musical. If you don't know, a book is the scenes that take place in between, which there's very limited real estate in a musical to be able to do. The thing that's great about My 80-Year-Old Boyfriend is it's about intergenerational friendship, which doesn't sound that shocking, except when you think about the fact that everybody thinks that people older than them are dull, people younger than them are loud, and only people their own age actually know what's going on. And this is, of course, across the board. And so this fantastic story about how someone decided to reach out and look for similarities, not differences, in somebody else. And I think at a time that, you know, in our country, that is the question we're all talking about. Like, could we ever look at people different than us and say, I see similarities and not differences, and I'm willing to work on my half to be able to see where we can meet? I feel like that's a story that will be very important to us in the fall of 2020, when there is an election going on and when that will be part of the public discourse everywhere. It's a new musical. It will travel out of Arizona after it happens here, so it's a great example of Arizona artists' work being seen in other parts of the country after it happens here. Our second show is Miss Bennet, Christmas at Pemberley, which is written by our friend Lauren Gunderson and Margot Melcon. Lauren wrote this past year's Silent Sky, which was a critical and audience favorite. And she's also the most produced playwright in the country 2 out of the last 3 years. And she's under commission for our theater to be able to write something new for us also. Lauren and Margot really wanted to write a sequel to Pride and Prejudice, to really figure out how can they write something that gives Mary finally her say in terms of where she is in the family and what's going on in her. And this show has been a sold-out box office smash everywhere that it's gone. In fact, at my last theater that I ran, it was the best-selling play in the theater's history until we produced the sequel that they also wrote. And then that became the theater's best-selling play in its history. So we're excited to bring that here to Tucson and to Phoenix, and for people to be able to get to know more of the joy and the smarts that is Lauren Gunderson. Third is Little Shop of Horrors, which is the musical that I think everybody knows, that's actually having a resurgence right now in New York with a production off-Broadway. You know, it is one of the more joyful, fun, you know, slightly devious musicals that's out there. And I think one of the reasons that we wanted to do it is there is nothing wrong at the holidays in terms of having a show that the entire family can come to, can enjoy, that they know the songs, that they can sing along. Casey Stengel, who has directed for us several different times, is directing it. So it's great to have someone like that who knows our audience, who knows our community, coming back to helm our largest show of the season. Our fourth show is How to Make an American Son by Chris Penna, which is directed by Kimberly Senior. If you don't know Kimberly, she directed the Broadway production of Disgraced when it won the Pulitzer Prize, and so we're thrilled to be able to have her working on this. Another exciting thing about the show is that it's a co-production with the Rattlestick Playwrights Theater in New York City, so right after the show happens here in Arizona, it'll have its world premiere. It will begin rehearsals and then have its off-Broadway debut right afterwards, so that New York audiences will get to see, secondly, what Arizona audiences had already gotten to see, and it's a great example of the work that we do here moving to the rest of the country. Chris is very interested in writing about a subject that I think is thorny and people don't get to talk about, but what happens to this next generation of people of color who have watched their parents work so hard to be able to make it into the country and then now arrive with a certain amount of privilege and have to figure out how to figure out their way through the world in a way that they feel like isn't fair to them, but their life isn't as hard as it was for their parents. And so it's a great conversation for us to be having, and Chris is a really fantastic up-and-coming writer. Stephen King selected him to adapt one of his books to be able to be on TV, and so this is the type of artist that we want to be coming here that is making a national impact. Next up is Propane by Stephen Druckmann, which is a really beautiful, touching play about how do we choose to remember people, and what is the most gracious way that we can think about them as we go through life. It's a really beautiful story about a woman who was incredibly smart, trying to figure out her way through a world when we maybe don't value the written word and smarts as much as we used to, and that's definitely something I think that's on Stephen's mind. And what happens when people find love later in life? What are the challenges in terms of that and how they're able to pull themselves together? It is a new play that we'll be doing here that I think will have a long life afterwards. In fact, we did a reading of it up in Phoenix a couple months ago, and we had board members who loved it so much that they announced instantly that we were doing it long before we had committed to it, which was actually not true, but was exciting that they loved the show so much that they wanted to go out and tell everyone they knew that we had this script in our midst. And so I think that's an exciting moment that now we can finally say we are doing it, and it should be one of the shows that everyone's the most excited about for the season. Our sixth show is Nina Simone, For Women. If you don't know the story of Nina Simone, this is also a musical that tries to use the music she had to be able to take on many of the subjects that she was interested in talking about and fighting for. It's amazing to look back how ahead of her time she was in terms of wanting to talk about issues of racial inequality and in terms of what was going on in Birmingham, what was going on with Dr. King. And so this musical really gives us a chance to be able to hear her music and to reflect on what those things are. It's directed by Tiffany Nicole Green, who is the resident director of a small unsung musical in New York called Hamilton. And so for her to be able to take a break from that, to be able to come down and work with us on it, I think is also another big step for us as an organization. One of the things that is different this year from past years is that we are partnering with organizations across the state to be able to make sure that more people are able to attend theater wherever it is that they live. We're going to be partnering with U of A, ASU Gamage, Stray Cat, Southwest Shakes, with BMG, which is the fourth largest music company in the world, to be able to look at their catalog and say, which one of these artists do we feel like it's ready for their musical to be next? We're going to be partnering with the Tony Award-winning Tom Curtihy Productions to be able to make sure that things here in Arizona and in New York get his level of stature and attention. With the Playwrights Center in Minneapolis to make sure that the best and brightest upcoming playwrights are on our radar as we continue to develop ourselves as a clearinghouse where the best and brightest go through. With Winding Road Theater Ensemble. And on top of that, we're going to be creating a musical theater workshop division where we workshop new musicals for us, for other organizations, or for Broadway. This year we'll have musicals from our friend Lauren Gunderson, from Jesse Sanchez, and from Chris Diorenzo, who created Rock of Ages, who is now working on his next musical with us. All of these partnerships and all of these musical workshops, people that are our 6 Play subscribers will have first access to them, and for the most part will probably be the only people that can get in to be able to see them. So we're grateful for those people, and we want to make sure they get first access to the work that we're doing. As you can see, we are bursting at the gills with new partnerships, new productions, additional programming, and we would be thrilled if you haven't already joined us, if you would join us. This is definitely an exciting moment to be a part of Arizona Theater Company. This is the moment where we go from being the best kept secret to being the leader in the state, the leader in the country, leader in the world, and we can't do it without you, so we hope that you'll be there. Thank you so much.